咱究竟该有共毁灭在咱的手。好酒，喝咱的酒啊，看破中共假恶丑。喝了咱的酒啊，散尽心爱的自由。喝了咱的酒啊，心头山河一声吼。喝了咱的酒啊，不灭恶党誓不休。春天一呀举九州，真心灭共跟我走。好酒啊，好酒啊，好酒！70年前，共匪传的战力，如今依旧肆虐。管天管地管空气，中间还管着你的生殖器。老百姓们活的不如猪狗，人民的最后被他们吞咽走。传统文化全都化为乌有，这些爷们们难道还没受够？这帮混蛋天天在高声秀，这蒙蔽的头把你思想左右，让母亲的眼泪不停的流，和你搅荡社会，我去你个头！喝了咱的酒啊，看破中共假恶丑。喝了咱的酒啊，散尽心爱的自由。喝了咱的酒啊，气口山河一声吼。喝了咱的酒啊，不灭恶党誓不休。春天一呀举九州，真心灭共跟我走。好酒啊，好酒啊，好酒！这一将亲手杀了你的手，天南地北从此与我便是战友。我城市走肉，抗争不管前后，奔波天下不管黑夜白昼。干了10碗酒，豪气涌上心头，死的未来是我战斗的理由。这是爱看亲友，我是他们老，为自由为生活不言不休。报了革命这碗酒，敬天敬地敬战友，新中国联邦人永不为奴，跟我走！神仙阳谷谢大仙，咱走走看。
Hello and welcome to Hong Kong Sign of Time. This is Mike. Today joining with me are Sky and Jane. And today is March the 19th, 2021. And as of today, there are 122 million people infected with the coronavirus, and like 7.5 million people died, unfortunately. Well, since last year, it's like 1 week after the first anniversary of the announcement of this pandemic. It didn't show any sign of reduction. It seems like the virus is just going to be with humankind forever. And yes, this is exactly what it looks like. Nobody in the world is immune to the virus. and the vaccine doesn't work too properly, as we know from the recent exposures of the accidents from the inoculation. And remember, this is the CCP virus. If anyone should be held accountable for this pandemic, it's the Chinese Communist Party's top leaders, the 8 family or 10 families that govern the whole of mainland China. These people are criminals. They have committed anti-humanity crime, and if the entire human race wants to survive, it's a necessity that we need to eradicate these bad actors from our planet Earth, and we need to eliminate them once and for all if humanity wants to prosper and thrive in the future. So Sky and Jane, let's start our show here now. So Sky, please show us the posters from the People's Daily on Weibo. Okay, this is our news website, gnews.org, and this site has a lot of interesting stuff here. Okay, so Sky has shown us this very interesting stuff. So as if you are a follower of the U.S.-China relationship, and you would know that a few days ago, exactly today, if you are talking about the U.S. time zone, today the United States had a meeting, a dialogue with the CCP top officials, one Tiger Yang and another one called who's that? Wang Yi. Yes, Wang Yi. And these two people went to Alaska, Anchorage, to bullshit, to boast and to condemn the U.S. basically. And what happens was that the U.S. officials were being scolded like a child by Tiger Yang and Wang Yi, and the CCP sees this as a glorious medal for them, and they posted this image on Weibo, which is basically the Twitter of mainland China, to brainwash the people and tell the people that we had a very, very glorious win against the U.S. supremacy. So they compare the 1901. What is this? This protocol? What was this protocol? They compare, like in 1901, at that time, the Qing dynasty government, they signed a treaty with 8 nations that it's complicated in English. So Qing dynasty declared war against 11 or 12 nations, and 8 nations sent in military to rescue the people, the religious people, the missionaries in mainland China. And that was the CCP and the emperor, the regime class of mainland China sees that as a shame. So the 1901 protocol was a shame in the Chinese CCP's textbook. So the CCP tries to impose to the people that the Western powers, the Western people are all evil, and they suppress the Chinese people. Instead, at that time, the 1901 treaty was to support the people, the poor people in mainland China, and to restore order, because the Qing dynasty, they fomented this rebellion. These people, they are super against the West, and they try to depict themselves as patriots, like now the Wu-Mao army, and they harm the Chinese people. And of course, they harm the Western people, specifically those people, the missionaries, the religious people that try to spread the gospel in mainland China. And the Qing dynasty of course, they don't allow this to happen, and they fomented the mobs to attack the church. And this is the reason why the West send in the 8 nations, they send in military personnel and occupied Beijing to restore order. And the CCP sees this as a shame. But actually, at that time, Chinese people welcome the 8 nations because the Chinese people are the most pro-freedom, pro-democracy people in the world. The Chinese people have been desiring, they are craving, thirsty for freedom. And at that time, there was a opportunity. And the CCP depicts this as a suppression from the West. And they compare the 1901 with 2021 dialogue. And they were so happy about that they are able to talk with the US in this very harsh manner. They don't care about what the US people, what the US is saying, and they demand the US fall back and do whatever the CCP tells you to do and shut your mouth. And this is what the CCP is trying to tell. And you can see from here, it says here Chinese, so the Chinese characters says Chinese people don't take it. The U.S. has no qualification to talk to China like that. Stop interfering China's internal affairs. I would like to tell you that there's no such thing as the CCP's internal affair when you are talking about Hong Kong, Tibet, Taiwan, and Xinjiang, because these are human rights issues. Human rights is higher than sovereignty. And this is a basic, basic common sense, an international guideline for any nation which is in the international community. If you want to get yourself out of the international community, like using US dollar and weaving yourself into the technological bodies and having international corporations, if you don't want these things, and you can do whatever you want, you can be like these indigenous groups in the African jungle and some islands that are isolated for thousands of years. You can have your own rules, and nobody is going to interfere with your internal affair. In fact, the CCP, you don't represent the Chinese people. Nobody ever voted for you. Nobody ever had the voice. Nobody had ever had the chance to speak out, to choose what their future is. It's always the CCP. So now, this is why the whistleblowers movement, the new federal state of China, is trying to establish an alternative of the CCP. We don't like the CCP, and we embrace the international order, the universal value of the West. This is what the Chinese people want. And the 1905 fight wasn't able to free the Chinese people, and this war, the war between dictatorship and the Chinese people, continued until today. We the new federal state of China is going to liberate the Chinese people. Okay, so Sky, enough talk about the Alaska stuff. What a farce and hilarious stuff. So let's go to our topic today. So the first topic is about Myanmar. According to Miles Guo, Myanmar, everybody knows that Myanmar is in a coup, and it has very bad political situation at this moment. And this news is brought by a mother, Jane. Please, Jane, describe this to us.
Oh, thank you, guys. The CCP invested billions in Myanmar as a part of Xi Jinping's imperial belt and road plans. In general, Myanmar became another Hong Kong, where military killing people every day. The CCP won't be satisfied with controlling China only. This five-year-old girl's father was just a citizen like us, but got shot by the military. When I saw this article, I literally had tears in my eyes. A 5-year-old girl on her father's funeral. 5 years old is not supposed to be the age to face such tragedy. I hope more people could see this article, no matter where you're from, and ask the questions why such tragedy happened, then find out the truth. We can't behave like the CCP pretend nothing happened. The BBC reported a few years ago that the CCP spent about $10 billion on advertising their own things abroad every year. They use the money in different fields, including Confucius Institutes and social medias. This Myanmar article was written by Simon Tisdall. Simon Tisdall is a foreign affairs commentator. I'm glad we can still see such news from The Guardian, where most of the news are being biased nowadays. Thank you, Mike.
Yes, thank you, Jane. And this subtopic, this segment is titled Xinjiang, Tiananmen, Hong Kong, Myanmar, who's next? So the CCP has been using the same strategy to govern the Chinese people. Sorry. To govern the Chinese people for 70 years. It was Tibet at the very beginning, and then it was Tiananmen Square and Falun Gong and Xinjiang, and now Hong Kong and Myanmar. The difference is Myanmar is the first nation that is out of the CCP's supposed territory. Myanmar is a sovereign nation, and the CCP supported the coup. Very obviously, every Burma, they know this is a foreign supported. It's supported by the CCP. There's no doubt. There's no reason why that the CCP's been so. The pandemic and the opposition, the military government, the junta. There's no reason why this thing suddenly appears without the CCP's meddling. And the CCP's always been telling other people to stop meddling with the CCP's internal affairs. While they did something in the election, they did something in Myanmar, they want to suppress, they tear down the Hong Kong basic law, the Sino-British Joint Declaration, and they bribe the whole world to push everything for them. This is what the CCP does. They can do whatever they want, but as long as you do anything, it's not to their appraisal, not to their satisfaction, then you are the bad guy. So enough about this news piece. Sky, let's go to the next one. And this is another tragedy, which in the last piece you have a child attending a funeral. Now you have a mother attending a funeral for her child. So this news I want to bring about is a Chinese student. He protested on the in the Myanmar streets, and he was killed. And the father, they were really, really sad about this thing. And I just want to say that this is just one of the examples when the Chinese people want to gain freedom. These people, they flee mainland China, I suppose, to escape the communist control. They want to go to a nation where they have no concern about the CCP's ruggish, the CCP's brutality, and they want to go to a nation where they can visit the internet freely. But unfortunately, this is not the case. The CCP has reached their tentacle into this nation, and this young kid, he went out and did what he wanted to, and the family is now suffering from huge pain. This is the Chinese government, the CCP's fault. The Chinese people yearn freedom, and we don't like the CCP. The CCP is tearing down everybody's freedom, everybody's normal life, everybody's livelihood, anything that you cherish, simply because they want to do so that you fear them and you obey to them. This is the CCP's logic. And the world needs to fight back. The Chinese people, many of the Chinese people are brainwashed. They don't know about any of the situation. But there are some people who are not CCP, the Chinese people. These Chinese people, many of them are in our movements, the New Federal State of China with Mao Skull, but many of them have yet to be awakened. This is the reason why we are here. We are here to tell our English audience that please support our movement, the Chinese people. the Chinese People's Freedom Movement, because if there is no, if there is one person enslaved in the entire world, everybody is not free. This is what I want to tell. And Myanmar is just another example, apart from Hong Kong, Tibet, Xinjiang, and mainland China. If we don't take down the CCP, the world is going to be another big Hong Kong. So, Jane, Sky, anything to say? Okay, if not, so Sky, let's go to the next topic. Okay, hello our audience. So from this topic on, we're going to talk about the favorite thing here, everybody's favorite vaccine. So 3 people in Norway treated for the unusual symptom after AstraZeneca COVID-19 inoculation. So everybody's favorite, especially Tony Fauci, every doctor's and every big giant corporation's favorite topic is the vaccine, because they make a huge amount of money from it. But what happens to the people? So Jane, please describe this news piece to us.
Oh, thank you, Mike. So in our last program, we said many countries, including Denmark, Norway, Iceland, Italy, and Austria, have suspended the use of Oxford's AstraZeneca vaccine following reports of the formation of blood clots in some people who have been vaccinated. But so far, 18 European countries have suspended the vaccine, this vaccine. So unfortunately, 3 health workers in Norway who had recently received this vaccine are being treated in hospital for bleeding, blood clots, and a low count of blood platelet. And all these 3 health workers are under the age of 50. Last Saturday, a Norwegian medical director said these 3 health workers are quite sick, and they take this very seriously. Bad things come in threes. Norwegian Medicines Agency showed more new cases after the first 3 cases were reported. So both Ireland and Netherlands suspended AstraZeneca vaccine over clotting concerns last Sunday. Despite all the cases and concerns, WHO still urged countries to continue using it. So for people who's still not sure if should take this vaccine, now it's time for you to ask questions. Maybe this vaccine is not as safe as they advertised. Thank you, Mike.
And yes, thank you, Jane. And another very interesting stuff brought to you by by Jane's Pence. So Sky, please go to go to this topic's link too. So we have an archive of this website which reports that Ireland should suspend AstraZeneca vaccine over clotting concerns. Sky, please, yes, please see the time here. It's March 14, 2021. And I remember Jane told me that before there was an even earlier version of this report. It said that Ireland suspended. It doesn't have the word should. But anyway, it shows you that the Oxford AstraZeneca vaccine is not so reliable as they suppose themselves to be. And Ireland suspended the should or whatever. The report says has some concerns about the clots. So Sky, please go to link 3. After please see the time here. Sky, please scroll down. Yes. Now remember, it was March 14 in the archive. It was March 14 in the archive, and now 1 day later they changed the title. So please, Sky, show the title. Yes. Oxford vaccine chief assures that it's a very good stuff. You need to get it bloody. You need to get the bloody vaccine, May. It's so good. It feels like in heaven, right? It feels like taking a cocaine shot. Well, this is what the mainstream media has been doing when they are seeing the vaccine, they are deliberately covering up the negative side news of the vaccine, and they are trying to push this inoculation process simply because they make money out of it. So Jane, do you have anything to say about this one?
I think first BBC disappointed us, and these results were from Sky News. So I guess behind all the UK social medias or news, there's something going on in a bad way. I don't think we can trust them completely. So like Miles Gore said, we don't really believe in those medias. Thank you, Mike.
Yes, and this so-called the mainstream media, you know what they are doing if you look, if you have common sense, or if you look deep into what they've been reporting on the websites. This is a very clear and obvious example that maybe this reporter, he made some mistake, and some dudes are pulling the strings behind the scenes, so they changed the title. The new title has nothing to do with the suspension. It only talks about, and it even changed some contents of the reports. So there is no reason to do that. If there is a story and you report that, the only reason why, money talks behind the scene. Okay, if you are still thinking, if you still haven't got the vaccine, please think twice. Why are they doing this? What is the purpose? Is the virus really going to help if they are doing this cover-up in as broad daylight? Well, make your own judgment. So, Sky, do you have anything to say?
Yes, based on the vaccine, why we need to understand they are just only 1 year. And another way is for your health. If you older people, can you believe that you just use the vaccine and then you cannot have the COVID-19? They said if you complete the vaccine but it's not sure for all and cancel all the COVID-19, you have a property to again to have the COVID-19, yeah. So if the COVID-19 cannot come completely to defect that, why we need to vaccine for use it?
Okay, Sky, thank you for this thing. I believe in the Hong Kong side of time part, in the latter part of the news about Hong Kong, we're going to have more some like a negative response from Hong Kong. So Sky, please, let's go to the...
Sorry, Mike, can I just add something more? Yeah, the news came out yesterday. So I asked people to be careful about this Oxford vaccine, and I have a reason. I think the government officially, they don't want to admit it yet, but yesterday the MHRA, I believe it's medical health regulator agency, I suppose so, yeah, from UK, they said after you get the Oxford vaccine, if you have a headache over 4 days, or you got a bruise, but it's not where you got injected, you should seek for help from your doctor. So it could be a side effect, but we don't know yet. That's why I want people to be a bit more cautious. Thank you, Mike.
Yes, thank you. And maybe things aren't so easy to cover up yet. Well, let's just wait and see what this massive inoculation would happen. And the last thing I want to tell is that AstraZeneca and Pfizer, these two companies, they use mRNA vaccines, which is the first time that human has ever tested this in a massive scale. mRNA technology was only used to treat cancer patients, and the people they're desperate, so they are willing to test for any of these possible cure for cancer. And this time they are trying to inject mRNA technology modified stuff into your healthy body. Nobody knows what is going to happen next. So anyway, make your own judgments. Sky, so let's turn into topic 3. So topic 3 is also about another disaster, another problem that you get from the pandemic. I saw someone said Nigel Farage, and he I don't know what he says. Nigel Farage just got a jab. I don't know what happens to his brain. May hope he's fine. So here, Jane, please describe this to our audience.
Oh, okay. A few weeks ago, Maris Gore said that the CCP has a vaccine plan. They want to use the vaccine to restrict people's trips, want those who don't take the vaccine to go nowhere. EU plans to have vaccine passport. The European Commission's plan for a digital green certificate or a pass will be a proof of vaccination, immunity, and test result. Their rollout would prevent the need for quarantine or travel bans. UK government mulling vaccine passport options for at home and abroad. So if you want the government to commit to rule out any vaccine passport, please go online and sign the petition. The vaccine passport could be used to restrict the rights of people who have refused the CCP virus vaccine, which would be unacceptable. Thank you, Mike.
Thank you, Jane. Yes, so Skype, please turn to the next link. And although I remember there is a voting going on in the Parliament of the UK, House of Commons, they're going to vote for the COVID-19 vaccine passports, and the people are signing a petition to reject this motion. And the government is, well, it's like the vaccine passports. It's either a paper or whatever it is. It's a means of controlling yourself, controlling you and knowing where you are, whether you are vaccinated, or to put it simply, they want to know who you are, where you're from, where you have been to, where you spent your money, in a way that they say that they can know whether you are likely to contract with the coronavirus. But on the other hand, all that information, they can be used, the governments can use these information to target you in so many other ways. And if you reject to take the vaccine, they can restrict you in a certain area so that your freedom of movement, your basic human rights to travel from here to there is gone, simply because you don't want to take the vaccine. So I am not an anti-vaxxer myself, but this is a very dangerous move. As long as they can take your one thing today here, tomorrow there, they're going to take more and more and more. If you give in, they're going to be much, much, much more aggressive. We are only one generation away from dictatorship. Nobody is free from the CCP virus at this moment. And the CCP is super, super aggressive. If these governments, they take this is going to be a huge, huge disaster. And there's a huge price to pay. So I think we have talked enough about the first part about global news here. Sky, do you have any more to add?
No, thanks.
Okay, so let's go to the Hong Kong news part. Hong Kong sign of time.
Yeah.
Yes, Hong Kong here. So Sky, please introduce us.
Yeah, for our talk, Hong Kong side of time, for the poster is never forget, never forget.
Never forget, never forget.
Forgive. Yeah. And the reason is about the CCP, they how to break out the Hong Kong, their law, and then their democracy, and then more you can see the now the vaccine problem. They are planning to the more people who permanently to injure the vaccine. You can see the first step is for the 60 years old people. Then now they promote is for 30 people, I think 30 years old people to can first to use the vaccine. The reason is because the more elderly people they now is in the Hong Kong case is have 7 people have died about the CCP virus. And then now today we have the one news is about the biotech. Then is the problem is that one is death in the biotech.
Yes, and so I described. So there's a 66 years old male. He had diabetes and other disease, other long-term disease, and in March 16th he got the shots, and in March 19th he passed away. Sorry, he passed out in a bus, and he was sent to the hospital, and there was nothing the doctors can do, and he died. Just 3 days after getting the vaccine, he died, right?
Yeah.
Yes, and this is the situation. And now the Hong Kong government is trying to expand the vaccine's inoculation priority. A few days ago, it was 60 years old above. Now it's 30 to 59, and they're trying to also expand the priority category into like foreigners and students are above 16 years old. Well, I'd say that you have seen the cases when elderly people get the injection and they died, and they do a lot. There are so many negative responses from the massive inoculation of this vaccine, but the government is still trying to push this forward. And as you see from our previous previous parts, from former parts of our show that we told you, the media is covering up the bad news about the vaccine. The government is cooperating with each other to roll out a vaccine passports so that they can have a greater control of the population. And the vaccine simply doesn't work. Maybe it's effective against the original strain, but now you have so many different, like South Africa strain, the UK strain, the Brazil strain. It's not going to protect you from these mutated strains of the coronavirus, but the government is still trying to push this. Why? One very simple reason: money. This makes a huge amount of money for the vaccine producers, and in this economic situation, there's no source of income for the government. The government is the only source of income for the government is taxing. They tax people, and they can run the organizations. And vaccine is a very, very lucrative business, and the government can tax a lot of taxes out of vaccination. This is what they're trying to do. They don't care about whether you die or not, because suppose that 1% of the population is going to die, the government is not going to worry about that. Although that 1% might be your loved ones, maybe your parents, your family, your good friends. It's none of their business, of course. And even half of the population in mainland China died. The CCP is not going to blink an eye. It's natural disaster or whatever it happens, an act of God. And as long as they can keep their illegitimate children in the Western world, they can keep their huge amount of trillions and trillions of dollars in the West. It's fine. They don't care. And this is the whole world expected the CCP to be more like them after the so-called open up and reform from the CCP and joining the WTO from 2001. The world expected the CCP to be more like them, but instead the world studies from the CCP and transform themselves into a dictatorship. Okay, Sky.
Yeah.
Uh,
In this poster, I want to say the one point is why the schedule is changed. I think it's the first step they want to more elderly people because elderly people is easy to believe the government, and then they want to get the good data and can share for the other countries that you can see the CCP virus is better, and then more people will join it, and then no death case. But now the death case is increased, and also they said is if the elder people have a health problem, it's all the case is a health problem. But why? But you can see they have a vaccine, and then you have a health problem. Why do you promote for them? This is not a common sense. Another way is they see the death case is increased. They want to use the younger people because they may be no health problem. They can promote, yeah, and then some who is who love their CCP, and then you will say the 50 cent they will be go first, and then they use the CCP vaccine, and then if data is good, they can promote. So they now is train the firstly they don't have the schedule for the 30 to 59 people in this group. For now they train the schedule because they understand the data is not good.
yes, the responses from the 60 above people is not good, so they are going to expand this to 30 to 59 to tell people it's all safe, and the people died are because they're old. They deserve to die. Okay, so this is the government's response. So anyway, let's go to the next poster.
Yeah, this
okay, Sky.
This poster is have a special. They lock down the building, and then in the central western we will say the Saiwan, and then but this building lockdown they have one is not included for them because there's have a CCP building in there. They need to keep take it out, not for the lockdown. You can see just the difference for your level. If you see a CCP government or the officer, you can extract the lockdown.
So Sky was saying was that this area is being locked down.
Yeah.
But there is a building that was the so-called China Hong Kong Liaison Office. So which is the department of the Beijing the regime. They installed this so-called liaison office in Hong Kong, and because the lockdown area included this building, but the building is not being locked down because it's a CCP building. People need to, the CCP spies and officials, they need to get in and out. You cannot stop them from ruling Hong Kong, right? So yeah. Even there in the lockdown area, the building is not restricted to lockdown rules. Yeah. This is how the CCP governs anywhere. Hong Kong is just one example.
Yeah, okay. They is same about the national security law. It is just suitable for any who is against the CCP. If you is stand by the CCP, you will be not included for this law.
Yes. So the CCP's law is very selective. It applies when the CCP says so. So this is how the CCP rolls, everybody. Don't be surprised, and this is how it works under the CCP's control.
Yeah.
So I believe this is not always the case because the CCP sometimes kill themselves. Just like Chairman Mao had a conflict with his so-called the next his successor, and he had a problem with his successor, and then he launched the Cultural Revolution. So if even you stand with the CCP, it doesn't mean that you're always safe. You have to be on your life, your safety, everything you have is on the line. You are going to suffer a huge amount of problems if something bad happens to you. It's not always safe to be with CCP. Yeah. Nobody is safe. Okay, so the next one. So this is a very interesting poster. So you have Winnie the Pooh. Everyone knows who's that. And you have the Chinese character election. And it was being built by wooden plates. And it says election on the wall. And then Winnie the Pooh comes with hammer and shackle. And then it becomes CCP interference. So Sky, please scroll down. Oh, yes. It becomes CCP interference. So this is how the CCP works. They bring shackle and hammer, which means communism, and it becomes interference. So this is how the CCP rolls out the so-called, I remember last time we talked about the voting, the 2,000 votes for and 0 votes for, 0 negation, and 1 didn't vote to pass the Hong Kong election law in Beijing, right? And not any single Hong Konger has consented, except some scumbags has been in Beijing to vote for a law that Hong Kong people should have. And this is how the CCP works. Okay, and Sky, anything?
Yeah, there is everybody understand now the election, the CCP, they want to improve or maybe change the Hong Kong election, and now they promoting is another law, is about the Hong Kong based law, Article 23. This is only we will say is a CCP law, because this law is on the 2003 is all people is against this law. Is because they all is controlled by CCP, but now they can move for the this law, because now Hong Kong they lose any loyalty, and then we will say they just want to compete the more CCP can suitable for them the law.
Okay, Sky. Let's go to the next poster.
Yeah.
So, just before the Alaska talk, the United States updated Hong Kong Autonomous Act. And the U.S. side pointed that 24 people is these are very not so high, but somehow high. It's not that Xi Jinping high. It's a level just below Xi Jinping, and these officials are designated by the U.S., and the U.S. accused them of eroding Hong Kong's election system, because they promoted the Hong Kong national security law.
Following the U.S. State Department.
Yeah.
Just before the election. Sorry, just before the Alaska talk. Now, Sky, do you have anything to say regarding this?
Yeah, because I remember for the Wednesday we will interview about Bannon, and then there one question is about the 24 people. Yeah.
Hey, would you like to play the video for our audience?
Wait a minute.
See what?
I need to open.
So okay, let me describe something here. So these people, these officials, some of them are the so-called people's representatives, but they have nothing to do with the people, and we don't know who they are. It's like Florida people, you don't know who is Marco Rubio, and the Arkansas people, you don't know who is your senator, and he's in White House voting for people for your decisions. And there's another guy from the United Front stuff. Okay, so Sky's ready.
Following the U.S. State
let's welcome Stella to ask Mr. Bannon some questions. 24
CCP and Hong Kong officials responsible for eroding Hong Kong autonomy. What concerns you the most about the first dialogue since January 2019 between top Chinese and American diplomats in Alaska tomorrow on 18th March?
It concerns me that we're not going to take a tough stand.
It's all right.
This is one of the reasons I wanted to bring up this book today. This book is by Josh Rogan, the lead reporter for the Washington Post on China. He's the best sourced reporter in D.C. about China. The book is called Chaos Under Heaven. It's about Trump and Xi. Very important book, and I would recommend everybody in the audience get it to understand what went on. Here's one of the problems I have with meeting in Alaska, who the participants are. This book, Chaos Under Heaven, points out that back in 2016, on a few days before Trump's victory on November 8th, John Kerry and Susan Rice were meeting in the Palace Hotel in New York with the exact team, the CCP team, Yang, and others that are going to Alaska. And their conversations were how the Clinton administration, because they were absolutely 100% certain that the Clinton administration, that Clinton was going to win, was going to beat Trump, how it was just going to be the same policy going forward. And John Kerry and Susan Rice were two participants in that meeting. Susan Rice today has an office in the West Wing. She said at the Domestic Policy Council. She was, one of the top. She was National Security Advisor for President Obama. So it's very disturbing. I think that Jake Sullivan and Tony Blinken, the National Security Council and the head of the State Department, are just.
Okay. Are we done?
Yeah.
Okay, so I just had a blackout of my internet. Sorry for that. So, like you have seen very clearly, it has a huge implication regarding the situation and before this. And I don't have much to say. I'm seeing this as an ongoing event, and the conclusions are yet to be drawn. So, Sky, Jane, do you have anything to comment about this one? I don't have much to say. I think these scumbags, if they are not captured and being sentenced as they should be, and I don't think any progress has been made. Sky?
Yeah.
No, if not, we're going to go to the next poster.
I want to say about everybody for the Hong Kong people, they understand that now the country they will do something, but I think it's not enough for the CCP because they have more. We will say they can. It's all the people, just only their not for the locate their hard people, the important people, because they just console for the other people to just.
They're running dogs.
Yeah, the running dogs. Yeah, they just help for them. CCP. But maybe the running dog will be say something, so they will CCP will do more action to fight back for their family, just Hong Kong people or the Taiwan. There's a problem. They will be CCP maybe next. You can see why Hong Kong they now is no their election. They will feel their more pressure because they train their pressure for Hong Kong people.
Yes, okay. And running dog is not enough. Sanctioning these running dogs is not enough. Although they are running dogs, but you need to drop the hammer on the exact right place. So, but anyway, it's coming. We believe this is coming. Okay, so I have not seen this before. So this is a poster saying that there's a short film called "Do Not Split" by Hong Kong, which is a documentary about Hong Kong, Hong Kong's protest, and it was in the Oscar nomination. And another thing I want to mention, do you remember, Sky? There was a girl who made a movie, very good movie, but although I haven't seen, and she won Oscar some prize. And the CCP, and that movie is not, of course, not in favor of the CCP. And the CCP then ordered the cable news in mainland China, a cable channel in mainland China, and the broadcast in mainland China to stop broadcasting Oscar because there's a movie that is being made so good, and the CCP doesn't like the movie's ideology, and they cut this off. So I think the Hollywood film industry, the world is now waking up to see what the CCP truly is. It's an existential threat to the West, to everybody on Earth, including Xi Jinping himself. This is the dictatorship, a killing machine that cannot stop but to kill more and more and more people. And Hong Kong is just one of the earliest examples to show the world how brutal the CCP can be. And we need to support Hong Kong and to stop history from repeating itself. If we eliminate the CCP from now on, from just on the pandemic, and stop another World War III, the humanity is going to thrive in the future very, very greatly without the CCP. Okay, Sky, anything to say about this? I haven't seen this film before.
Yes, they will have a more mover. They will be have a record about the Hong Kong people 2019. But now in Hong Kong, you cannot to have a just the movie the film can watch because the CCP not allow for them. They will be use the CCP news CCP post to address against the movie, and then they will just writing this not good for the you are promoting the
anti-nation. Yeah, it's like a cementing subversion of the regime.
Yeah,
it's like a nonsense. This is how the CCP rolls. They designate you. They say that you did this and you did it, and they can create a crime which is called a fomenting subversion of the government. Well, in the United States Constitution, people have the obligation to subvert governments that don't represent its people. So in a sense, the U.S. government is fomenting subversion of the Chinese government. So the U.S. government is basically committing a criminal according to the Hong Kong national security law, right?
Yeah.
So this is how the CCP works.
Yes.
Anyway, Sky, let's turn to the next poster.
Yeah, this is
This is a story. So in court, the lion accused the zebra of, the lion says that he bite me, the zebra bite me, and the judge asked why the zebra bites you, and the lion said, when I am eating him, he bited me to fight back, and the judge said, okay, the zebra committed crime of hurting the lion.
Yeah.
Well,
this is a one new case in the Hong Kong because they are 2019 they have a annotation bill, and one case is the police is they just arrest some people, and then his hand is just in his mouth, but the people just only because in that situation you cannot to know the it's very nervous, and then the people just only to bite it. But the reason is the police is going to arrest, and then his hand just put it in his mouth only.
Okay, so the CCPs, I remember there are so many cases in mainland China as well. So there was a girl, she was being raped, and she fought back, of course, and she hurt the raper, and the judge sentenced the girl of hurting the raper. Well, I don't know what this is like. If anything like this happens to the West, well, everyone knows what happens. The judge is going to be sentenced to death, and this is how it works in mainland China. And the people in mainland China thinks that the judge has been doing such a great job. The CCP, many people in the West don't believe that the CCP would hurt its own population to spread the virus. Yes, they are, because nobody voted for the CCP. The CCP is not an administration, not a government. It's a regime. It's an empire. They don't care about the people's livelihood. It's like the CCP treats the Chinese people as their property. When you need to use your property, you don't care about how the property feels. You care about the income and spendings. You care about how much profits you can generate from the property. if the people needs to die, of course they die. This is the CCP's logic. This is why it's so hard to spread truth in the Western world, because people are in such a great place. They don't know how bad the CCP can be. Okay, Sky, what is this one?
It is about they now is using the Hong Kong people money and then to build one is about I think is for huge building, and then this company is mainland China.
This building
They mean is
so this building is like a 200,000 square inch. How much? It's 200,000 square inch, and they use this to build the place. But sorry, I am not very familiar with the contents. So let's go to the next. The next one. So yes, a few days ago, maybe Beijing launched a test to simulate, to emulate situation in Mars, and the CCP's been telling its people that they have made great, fabulous achievements in terms of controlling the sandstorm from the northeastern part of mainland China. And just the day, March 15, just the day, and Beijing looks like Mars. Yes. And the PM10 digits, it was 8,000. So the WHO suggested that below 20 is normal for people to live. It's 8,000. This is how the CCP's jokes are looks like. What this is exactly what the Beijing should look like. It's a place of the desperates. It's a place of no humanity, no place that people should be. It's like it's just the CCP's true face, and you can see from here a lying dictatorship that kills people and looks ugly and has no humanity. Okay, yeah. Sky.
In this poster, I want to ask which film is like this poster?
Which one? Sorry, I'm not very.
Bringing him home, Marsh.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I know.
Similar for this poster is a design for the movie, but I will think is for the Beijing is just a movie for now.
Yes, from Beijing with okay. So, and if you want Washington D.C. and London to look like Beijing, please embrace the CCP. They're going to make it for you.
Okay, this
okay. So, 2019, June the 15th, I remember 2 million Hong Kong people took to the streets, and 2021. March 15th, the CCP passed the election law, right? The election revision, some stuff. This is a very important time.
Yeah, for this against is for the 21st month. Hong Kong people is is continue to fight, but they will be used more other ways, because now there are more CCP has more mission or more
suppression.
Yeah, they do to against to arrest the Hong Kong people.
Yes, and the CCP is 21 months. The people of Hong Kong never gives up. I give up, and here it's like running with this together to. And remember, so I'm not familiar with this, Sky. What is this saying?
There is a saying need to do exercise for your health, because they need to maybe arrest, maybe running for arrest.
The police.
Yeah, the police.
Yes.
We suppose other people. I remember Mel Scott said we need to every day to the exercise. Yeah.
Yes.
Same.
To keep a healthy body, so that the CCP goes away, and we are healthy. They're dying. So here, this is a Hong Kong buzz.
Yeah.
It's saying "Liberate Hong Kong, Revolution of Our Time."
Yeah, there's a Hong Kong poster. Yeah.
Yes. So this is a very classic, a very classy, a classy symbol and slogan for Hong Kong's revolution. It has been on since 2019, and until today, Hong Kong people never give up. And this is how the Chinese people would do if we have freedom. Freedom is contagious. In mainland China, people are brainwashed, and they don't want this kind of life as well. When the Chinese people get freedom and rule of law, the Chinese people is going to adhere to these universal values. Anyone who dares to challenge this is going to be rebelled, just like the Hong Kong people rebel. So I think this is the end of our show here today. Thank you, Jane, and thank you, Sky. So if you G-News Sky, if you want more news pieces about what we are talking about, please go to gnews.org. We have a lot of information to provide for you, to tell you what happens regarding the CCP and regarding the US and the world, the vaccine, the virus, and Miles Guo, of course. So this is our websites of spreading the truth about the CCP. And I think that's the end of our show. Thank you, Jane, and thank you, Sky. See you next time, our audience.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.
伊国，一个传奇的国度，曾经的日落帝国。走进伊国，那静谧的田园风光，绝美的山川湖泊，康桥河畔的金柳，泰晤士河上的星辉，还有那庄严雄壮的威斯敏斯特大教堂，向日世界的宁静坚强，都让人叹为观止。走进英国，不仅有科学巨匠牛顿的万有引力定律，更有那约束皇权的大宪章，亚当·斯密倡导自由经济的国富论，约翰·洛克的政府论。历史的长河中，英国对人类文明的贡献无可比拟。70年前，共产邪魔肆虐华夏大地，妄图让中华同胞世代为奴。
共产党是天下最迷信的党，五星红旗立东方，你看到红旗了吗？红色就是鲜血，血染的红领，权力，老百姓就是红色，这就是我的臣民，我的奴隶。
郭文贵先生发起的爆料革命，以超绝的智慧、坚韧的毅力、无畏的勇气、无私的奉献，给予了共产邪魔政权最致命的打击。经过郭先生和爆料革命战友们3年多艰苦卓绝的奋斗，爆料革命出现胜利的曙光。6月4日，我们的新中国联邦将宣告成立。这是中国人民向邪恶中共发出的死刑宣判书。新中国联盟是所有华人的希望和未来。
我是英国战友，我是英国战友，
我是英国战友，
我是英国战友。
We are the followers in the UK。
支持新中国联邦宣言。
我支持6·4新中国联邦宣言。
支持6·4宣言。